Gardening, here to give you some tips on how to can tomatoes, but do some planning beforehand. For instance, I just canned these tomatoes. This is for spaghetti sauce. This is quartered tomatoes with spices in it that I'll use for spaghetti. Sometimes when you harvest your tomatoes, you end up with a few tomatoes, or sometimes you end up with an abundance of tomatoes. Regardless of what you get, you have to bring them in the house, lay them out so that they can fully ripen before you can do anything. Well, sometimes you don't have enough to can at one time, so it becomes a complete waste of time to pull out that big pot and all the materials and to can a few cans. So I'm going to show you what you can do prior to so that you can one big batch of tomatoes. So of course, when you can tomatoes, you have to peel the tomatoes. I learned this trick a few years ago of an easy way that you can peel tomatoes. Really pretty cool. What you do is take your tomato and score the bottom of it in the shape of an X. Right? I like to use a paring knife because the blade is shorter than a standard knife. But you just do maybe a 1/4 inch thick, put an X right on the bottom of your tomato. So I've already done all of these tomatoes, and then you take your tomatoes, about 6 at a time is what I usually like to do. You don't want to overcrowd your tomatoes in the pot. You take about 6 tomatoes and drop them in boiling hot water. And you're going to leave those in there for about 30 to 60 seconds. So I'm going to drop a few in here. During that time, I like to move them around. Just keep everything moving to see if any begin to peel. Sometimes when they're sitting in there, they'll split on one side and you won't see it because it's on the opposite side. So make sure that you keep them moving to make sure that you're not cooking your tomatoes. My heat has gone down since I put these tomatoes in there. They've cooled my water off, so I'm going to turn that back up so I can get that boiling again. But just keep rotating them with your spoon. I like to use a slotted spoon. It makes it easier to take them in and out and move them around. And I just keep checking them to see if they split a little bit, basically. And sometimes you can't tell. That skin will stay intact, but it doesn't mean that they're not ready and that they won't be easy to peel. You don't want to cook your tomatoes in the water. So no more than a minute is how long you want to keep those in there. So I'm going to go ahead and start pulling these out. I can use this one for an example. If you look at this one, you can see how it's split right across the side. So that one is definitely ready. I'm going to take that and drop that in some ice cold water. There's literally ice sitting in this water. It's to stop the cooking process in the tomatoes. Because right now we're not cooking our tomatoes, we're just getting them ready to can on another day. Alright, so all of these are out. I like to keep my top on my pot, keep my water boiling so I don't have to start that process over every time I have to come back and start boiling my tomatoes again. So I'm going to cover that up. I'm going to move over here to the other countertop. And I'm going to show you how easily these tomatoes are going to peel. It is really cool. So I'm going to take this one out because it peeled the most. But because you put that X on there, it's in 4 sections. Basically your skin is in 4 sections. So look at how easily that peels. It peels like a banana, pretty much. So you peel all your skin off. And then after you get done peeling, I just move on to the next one. I like to have a empty bowl here to collect our scraps. We do compost and use it in our garden soil, and it is awesome. If you don't compost or use compost in your soil, it definitely makes a difference. So I would highly recommend it. Even if you just did food scraps, I would highly recommend it. But I'm going to continue to peel. See how easily that's coming off? It's great. Peel these off. Slides right off. Then after that, I cut the ends off of them. I like to use quarters for my tomatoes. So I cut the ends off and then I quarter it. And then you kind of already have the markings for that because you've already scored that X. So if you just go right onto those lines, you cut right on those lines, you've already kind of got your markings for your tomatoes to quarter them. Cut the core out. You don't want that in your tomatoes. It'll just remain hard even after canning them. So cut your core out, and then I just throw them in a bowl. And I just keep doing this process until I have all of my tomatoes done. I have 2 baskets right there full of tomatoes to do, and I fill this bowl completely and I stick it in the fridge until I get enough tomatoes so that I can do a full pot of cans. So my big canner will hold 7 cans of 7 quart size cans. So when I feel like I have enough, there's no exact measurement. You really don't know until you do it. But until I feel like I have enough, I keep doing this in batches. Throw it in the fridge, then I can it all at one time. And it is great. It saves me a lot of time. I hope this helps with canning tomatoes. If you don't have a canning book, I would recommend that you get one. I read canning books, I watched YouTube videos, I did a lot of reading, and it helped a whole lot. But until next time, I hope this helps with canning tomatoes. Bye, y'all.
So you can gather yourself before you talk.
Hey y'all, this is H.E.A.T with H.E.A.T Gardening, here to give you some tips on how to can. Dang, I did it again. Hey y'all, this is H.E.A.T with H.E.A.T Gardening, here to give you some tips or tricks. Hey y'all, this is H.E.A.T with H.E.A.T Gardening, here to give you some tips or tricks on how to can. That's what I say. Hey y'all, this is H.E.A.T with H.E.A.T Gardening. You gotta stop that one because my voice.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, this is H.E.A.T with H.E.A.T Gardening, here to give you some tips. Dang! I wasn't even gonna say